Deep Purple, Whitesnake, and now he's here. This is David Coverdale on Planet Rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, join me as I sit here on the threshold of two worlds, lost in the eloquence of a new, deliciously decadent episode of Up Close and Personal with David Coverdale. And welcome back to the Hook City Round Table. So pull up whatever comfy chair, lounger, walker, anything, put it in drive and check it out. And that first track was Shut Up and Kiss Me from the Whitesnake Flesh and Blood album. And once again, it's time for Songs I Played in Local Bands. And here's Moby Grape, Hey Grandma. Love playing those songs. The band I was in, the local band I was in, had a great trumpet player, Brad, great sax player, David, and great singers, actually. But it was a fun song to play. And another song that I really enjoyed and actually became another part of elements that I put in some of my biggest Whitesnake songs. Here's Steppenwolf with Foggy Mental Breakdown. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for Word of the Day. Words that come in useful, that you can surprise people and learn. Maybe you don't know them, but you can put them in a sentence of your own making and sound really smart. What we got today, Elise?
Clinomania.
Oh, I know that. Michael, do you know that one?
As a matter of fact, I do. It's the Shark Week of spaghetti westerns. Clintomania.
Okay, shall I?
Yes, please.
I think it's the fear of leaving your bed.
Exactly. An excessive desire to remain in bed.
Oh, my favorite.
Morbid sleepiness.
Morbid sleepiness. That's a Marvel Comics group character.
Morbid sleepiness. Arch enemy, nemesis of Doctor Strange.
This is David Coverdale on Planet Rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm going to introduce somebody I've known and loved and admired for almost 5 decades.
Whoa.
A founding member of the sainted combo, the Unrighteous Brothers.
There it is.
Bass player extraordinaire, singer par excellence, the Bluebird of Deep Purple.
Oh, wow.
And my very dear friend and most excellent chum,
Oh,
Hooligans,
wow.
a pair of us.
Hooligans.
And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Glenn Hughes.
Oh, so sweet. Nice to be with you, young man.
You actually joined Deep Purple prior to me, and it had been announced. But just prior to coming down, Glenn, I hadn't been exposed to your voice prior to...
Yeah, same here, by the way.
The audition had been set up, etc. So I actually had to borrow Deep Purple albums from younger people in this boutique I was working at. I also got You Are the Music, We're Just the Band. And I'd play the Purple stuff, and when, there's no question you can recognize these guys are astonishing musicians.
Yes.
And I thought
Yes.
vocals, whatever. But then I put on the You Are the Music. And a lifetime ago, a young lady called Jackie and I were in a relationship.
Yes, I remember that, yes.
And you started to sing. And I just sort of like, oh, holy God, inside, like ribs just like cracking and breaking away and bowels, just inconveniently opening. And I turned around and looked at her and the expression, I swear to God, I've never forgotten this. Why bother? That is the God's honest truth. And I went, well, I'm a Yorkshireman. I can't bottle out. This
Exactly. When you heard You Are the Music, that album for me, You Are the Music, We're Just a Band, was a great album for the band Trapeze. But for me as a songwriter, that's where I felt where I should be,
I mean, You Are the Music's a scorching recommended
Thank you.
rock, funk, you know. It was so fresh and vital. It's more so than, you know, and I don't want to disparage our former colleagues,
No.
you know, because musically it was amazing and commercially there's no question it was enormous. And they set up these 10 pins for you and I to come in and knock them down, you know, and achieve that with Burn,
Right,
you know.
right.
And I distinctly remember your gift to yourself when you joined the band was this upwardly mobile, middle class. Was it a Rover?
It was a Rover 2000, yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And you drove up without a GPS. I'm so proud of you.
Right. How did I do that?
You drove up to Red Car by the Sea, ladies and gentlemen, when I
did.
a kick-ass little apartment right on top of an amazing hip discotheque filled with
I remember that.
babes. I'm sure you do remember that,
I do remember that.
Mr. Dainty.
Yeah, I remember it all.
You know, I didn't know what you were going to come up with because I know you and I and our education, the School of American Soul Music,
Yes, exactly.
Stevie Wonder, you know. But you guys, you had great singers coming out of the Midlands, the Black Country, how appropriate. You're Noddy, for God's sake, a breath. It could take the paint off an old battleship.
Yeah.
You know, Robert Plant.
And Steve Winwood.
Steve Winwood,
Steve
you know,
Winwood,
just,
yeah.
and you, dude, you know, you're the higher echelons of that stuff.
Wow, well,
you know,
wow.
And the genius of Jeff Lynne. Incredibly,
Yes.
a lot of focus goes on, of course, understandably, to the Beatles. And of course, they were the first self-contained band that wrote their own music, insisted on playing that and recording it, even though they had a couple of covers in the early days. When you say mid-teens Beatles, was that your mid-teens, like 15, 16?
You know, I want to take you back to 1963 era. You know, I was like 11. I was coming home from school, and on TV, the Muriel Young show. You remember that?
Yeah. Oh, dear God, yeah.
And so it's in black and white, and the musical guest was a band from Liverpool called the Beatles, and I had not heard the Beatles, and they came on shaking their heads and looking groovy.
Yeah.
That didn't attract my attention. What attracted my attention was the way they were going about singing Twist and Shout. No, I didn't realize it wasn't their song.
Isley Brothers.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. But you see what it was? We had helped Elvis Presley and Chuck Berry, and all of a sudden we get the Beatles out of nowhere. And all of us in the UK, from my generation, my peer group of kids, were taken back by what we just saw.
Yeah.
And it was at that time I asked my mum if it was humanly possible that I could get somehow a acoustic guitar for Christmas if I was a good boy.
But yes, I didn't actually catch on to the Beatles until Shea Stadium. That's when I started to take it.
So that would have been like the mid '60s then, like '65. or something.
Yeah. But George introduced me via the Beatles to Smokey Robinson with "Really Got a Hold on Me."
Incredible.
What in those days it was Tamla Motown,
Yes.
and that was the mind-blowing scenario, and still is. You know, if I'm ever coming up to write, I'll play Motown,
Yeah.
60s Motown. You know,
I get that. Me too, actually.
the best playing, best arranging, best songwriting, legitimate themes, you know, and beautiful transition into stuff like Marvin, What's Going On, Donny Hathaway Live, and Music of My Mind.
Yeah, exactly. My Bible.
He introduced minor sevenths to me and major sevenths, and I was
Yeah.
at my audition for Deep Purple. You know, the guys went off wandering around, and I was playing this dorky major seventh thing on the piano, and
I
you
remember it.
came over and sat with me, and
I remember it well. Just it was 2 or 3 chords. It was great.
and you harmonized with what I was doing, and it was, you know, chili bombs. Well, we knew the Purple guys, they wanted to change. It wasn't just personality clashes.
Yeah.
In those years, we had to be seen to be progressive. It was progressive rock music, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
But we brought in this strangeness, which was much more embraced replaced by John and Ian and Richie. I also brought in my love of the blues. There was that kind of thing which Richie enjoyed that I brought into it, but I think Stormbringer was the icing on the cake for him to go.
Yeah.
I'm not. He'd given me a riff, which was, he told me that, to come up with something like Changes. Remember Band of Gypsies?
I do.
I can only work organically with what it inspires. And the whole thing to me was, have you ever thought of the feeling?
Right.
Can't do it right with the one you love, but there's nothing you can do without the one you love.
That's my favorite track.
Fuck it, we're going to play that right now.
Yeah.
The journey that these guys enabled us to be on was just extraordinary. A short and sweet. We did 3 studio albums in 3 years, for God's sakes,
Yes.
But, we were always true to what we brought to it. Our rock was legit. We wanted to please the crowd, but we couldn't hide that soul aspect.
No.
That's a major part of your voice.
Did you know, David, that in 1966, my girlfriend's brother ran a thing called a discotheque, which is now, of course, everybody knows. and I, on the weekend, on Friday and Saturday, I went with him. I was 14, and I got him, Coca-Colas and coffee. All I did for a year was on the weekend, he'd play only Tamla Motown.
Oh, my God.
And, of course, I was so young that it was bred into my system, etched into my soul.
Yeah.
So I was born into that. That was it for me.
African American music, which was just huge. That projection stuff, I didn't know that those big Levi Stubbs voices, Otis Redding, the mics weren't big enough to take those, so it added extra distortion.
Incredible.
And I certainly, in my emulations of these guys, over-projected to get that grittiness,
Right.
And Martin Birch, God rest his soul.
Yes, bless him.
Sitting with him when we went to those clubs in Hamburg and sitting with him, and I'm nervous to death. And he goes, settle down, have another drink. I said, I'm just really nervous about this. And he said, well, who are your favorite singers? And of course, there was no hesitation. I said, well, the Tamla Motown guys that, like you can hear the breaths and all. He goes, oh, Compression. I'll never forget it. And then I'd never stood and sang into a microphone. And he said, well, just use your mic stand and a mic and sing across it into the Neumann.
Right.
And I still do. I still do it. A psychological, because I need that titanium mic stand to help me get up.
I get it. It works wonderfully.
Certainly,
David, you remember, I think it was very early on where you did that with the mic. Was it like an accident, or did you go on stage?
Oh, the split.
Right.
It was trying to be different. And Freddie Mercury told me that's where he got the idea for the half stand.
Stop it.
Because I'd snap it, most of the time. It was the clumsiest son of a gun on the planet. It was like trying to play a harmonium or something strapped on,
Yeah.
And Freddie said that's where he got the idea for.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
But man, The Who. So that was what was that moment? Was that Ready Steady Go or Top of the Pops when you saw them?
It would have been Ready Steady Go, I believe. When Trapeze were in the very, very early 70s. We opened for The Who a couple of times. To be so close to that. I became friends with Mooney, and I caught them. You're talking Tommy now, live, and it was something to
behold.
I couldn't get my breath.
They're the most dynamic rock band that I've ever seen in living memory.
Yeah.
At Redcar Jazz Club, which I'm sure you remember.
I played it many times.
Yeah, I think you did, yes. I saw The Who there a few times. There was 700 or 800 people.
That's right.
On a Sunday night. Mooney was amazing. And all the time I talked with him, because I was just gushing fan, he maintained the persona of Robert Newton.
Oh, God.
Remember Treasure Island? Oh, dear boy. Oh, dear boy.
He never stepped out of character.
Oh, my Lord.
Never stepped out of character.
But we stood outside waiting, for the band, and this spaceship pulls up. It was a Corvette, Stingray Corvette.
Oh, right, sure.
And Dodry gets out with a mop of hair, hi guys, sounds a couple of, and I'm just in awe. I mean, the guy just drove up to play in Redcar.
It's a long way.
I'd be watching them just blown away, and suddenly you'd think, oh my God, it doesn't get any better than this. And literally, joking aside, Townsend would turn it up to 11. Hi, I'm David Coverdale. Don't miss the farewell tour of Whitesnake starting May 10th in Dublin, Ireland. Thursday the 12th in Glasgow. Saturday the 14th in Newcastle. Monday the 16th, London. Wednesday the 18th, Manchester. Friday, Nottingham. Sunday, Birmingham. And Wednesday, the 25th, Cardiff. We bid a fun farewell. Can't wait to see you.
This is David Coverdale on Planet Rock.
Up close and personal with David Coverdale and the Hook City Hooligans. Not everything is cancelled. The sun is not cancelled. Summer is not cancelled. Relationships are not cancelled. And friendships are not cancelled. Love is not cancelled. Reading is not cancelled. Devotion is not cancelled. Music is not cancelled. Imagination is not cancelled. Kindness is not cancelled. Conversation is not cancelled. And community is far from cancelled. And certainly hope is not cancelled. And the Whitesnake farewell tour ain't cancelled. Here's a song for you. This is from the new Greatest Hits, revisited, remixed and remastered. Forevermore. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, may the universe shower you with blessings, each and every one of you. And until we meet again along the road, be safe, be happy, and don't let anybody make you afraid.
I'm sad to say it's time to go.
Up close and personal with David Coverdale, the Hook City Hooligans, courtesy of Planet Rock.
Planet